Hello. Today I'd like to take a look at the First Strike North American Quarterfinals Game 2 between TSM and Renegades. I want to take a look at this game specifically because if you notice, both teams are using Skye. And what's more interesting than that is not only is this the first tournament of a large scale that we get to see Skye being used in North America, but these two teams also use Skye differently. With Skye being a mix between Sova and Breach, there are two main ways we're going to see Skye used in this game. One is going to be to gather intel, to gather info much like Sova, and the other one for flashing people like Breach. I think one of these ways is much stronger than the other, and we'll take a look at that. There are three main things I want to look at in this video. One, I want to look at just the individual plays and how Skye was used. Two, I want to take a look at the pros and cons to her flashes because those are very unique. And three, I want to take a look at if I think it was worth these teams dropping different agents. Sova in TSM's case, and a Sentinel in Renegade's case. I want to take a look at whether or not that was worth it. I also just want to put it out there that I think Skye is going to be one of the hardest agents to master in this game. And so I think, much like Sova and many other agents, the way people play her and the lineups people find for her are only going to get better and better as time goes on. Also, one more thing that I just want to quickly highlight is the different agent compositions and how these teams seem to think Skye fits into a lineup. Like I said earlier, TSM swapped out Skye for a Sova. They are still running their triple duelist and hazed on the Omen. Whereas, if you notice in this case, in Renegade's case, that Skye was swapped out for a Sentinel. However, they also kept Breach a second initiator. So Renegades is going to have a lot of flashes in this game. And while we'll highlight this later, I think having two initiators like this, a Skye and a Breach, who are more support flashers, actually hurt their composition. I think Skye had a decent impact on the game, whereas I think Breach had very little. I think if Skye was not used, Randy Savage, the Renegade's Breach, would have much more impact on this game. So we'll also take a look at that as we go on. But hopping into round one, you can notice first that Cutler, TSM's Skye, is playing starting over on A, and CP2, who is Renegade's Skye, is playing over on B. We're going to see immediate Skye usage right here. You're going to notice that right off the bat, up here, CP2 is going to shoot Bird, her flash, through the teleporter. And this is the first case that we see Skye being used as an intel gatherer. The goal of this, obviously, is to see if anyone is outside of showers. You notice at the same time that Skye sends this flash through that raise boombots through showers, and they're going to get early showers control for the orb. This brings up a pro-con to Skye immediately, is the fact that her flash was able to be broken in a right click. Her flashes are broken quite easily, which can cause a problem, but I think it allows people, and requires them honestly, to play in different ways and to, in certain cases, even bait their flashes. This still does get the intel that someone is outside of showers because it was shot, so it did its job. Remember that as long as the Skye flash can see you, whether you're looking at it or turned away from it, within about 30 meters, the Skye will get intel saying that she blinded someone when it blows up. So this gave them the early intel, and at the same time they were able to push.
Oh my God,
now we're going to skip forward just a little bit because Skye does not have much impact until at this point when you see Hayes shift over and Wardell come over to A short. We're going to see the first set play that Skye is used in, which is going to be a combo between Jet and Skye. I think it's okay. I think there are some ways to play around it. And it's a little bit of a gamble, but on a pistol round, it's not so bad.
Really sure which site TSM is even playing here right now. They're still in their
So, oops.
And
First, you're going to notice that Wardell is going to follow the dog all the way through. He's going to check his corner here.
Oh, they're going to trailblaze.
And he's just going to dash past. The dog is going to find Retro, stun him, and then Wardell can convert on it. I think the major fallback to this is because the dog has such short vision, whereas like a Sovidrome would have much larger long-range vision, full vision, to be honest. If anyone was hiding in the cubby right here, they could kill Wardell, and he would not see it. He did not check that when you noticed he dashed. He was intently focused on hookah. Or sorry, on U-Haul. And so, if anyone was sitting in that close cubby, or even right over here, then I think they could pick off Wardell. But in a pistol round, where that's not necessarily a kill, and the guns have a little more inaccuracy, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Now, let's fast forward a little bit again, all the way to here. And we're going to look at an instance of CP2 using Skye's flash, as a selfish flash too, one in which CP2 is going to try and convert off the flash. So let's watch it first.
If you want to nerd out about a play, that was
Wardell dies after he's lurking. And right here, you're going to see him use a flash and try and convert a kill. He does get this kill, however, I think this is a poor use of the flash. Let's rewind for a moment and come right to here. I want you to take a look at when the flash goes off to when CP2 can actually fire his gun to when Sabrosa, who was the one that got flashed, is able to shoot back. He flashes, he can pull out his gun right here, and you can see already that the flash effect is going away and Sabrosa is regaining vision. This probably gives CP2 a half second to a second advantage, which means he needs to be perfect with his shot. If another teammate converted off it, which I understand in this case that wasn't possible, that's a much better use of the flash. So this is just an example that Skye's flashes, much like breaches, are not really able to be used selfishly. You can't pull out your gun fast enough to convert on them consistently. CP2 does get a kill here, of course. And now, let's come right here. You'll notice that at the end of that B-site attack, that Bergie and CP2 are left on the B-site, and Hazed is actually going to swing and lurk all the way through elbow into CT to try and flank them. Meanwhile, Cutler is in hookah. So, watch how Cutler plays this. He's going to pull out a flash, and he's going to flash through the smoke. He's going to bring it onto the floor, and he's going to explode it right when the flash can see the cubby on the right here, in the tube on the left, and long back here. It can also see close if anyone's right up against the smoke, which is very unlikely, but it covers these three main areas. Notice that he doesn't try and convert off this flash. This flash was used to get info. By flashing here, there are two cases that happen. The first case is that it explodes and Skye is informed that she blinded someone. In this case, TSM can confirm that there is at least one player, either in the cubby, in the tube, or long. This gives Hayes, who is lurking, a better idea of what corners to check. And so you'll see that he's going to come up, And at this point, CP2 tries to flash back to hold off Cutler, but Hazed, who comes in immediately and looks at the cubby, can convert on Bergie. Now, once again, in this instance, the flash would not have changed the scenario. Hazed would have lurked around, found Bergie, and killed him. However, if the Skye flash does not say anything, then they can kind of figure out where else they could be. Maybe they could be in the back of the site. They could even have pushed elbow themselves. And so it helps reduce some of the corners that Hazed and then Cutler, when he jumps out, is going to have to check. Okay, second round. Let's take a look at the map positioning right now. We have Phoenix of TSM pushed up well into showers, almost ready to break out on site. We have Raze lurking on B, and we have 3 people on A short. This is a good example of how TSM effectively uses the Skye flash both as intel and an actual flash. So in this case, we're going to watch Skye,
flash there. He decides
and
not
she's
to
going
push
to
into
flash,
shower.
which you'll see in a moment.
This is definitely an A hit, and there the smoke's coming in.
Right in the middle, right here. You saw it on the minimap. It popped up right here. You can see that it blinded Bergie, and it blinded Retro, the Omen and Jet. That flash gives TSM a little bit of info. It tells them that since it blew up right here, there can be a player short in this cubby right here, right sitting outside of U-Haul here, over by bench, or boosted on the generator, or perhaps somewhere far back site. Now, because people got flashed and it said blinded, you're going to notice Wardell dashes in, which allows him to clear short right here, and he's not even concerned with behind U-Haul because he knows where that flash blew up. There's a very, very small chance that someone was there. For example, that flash would not have covered the entrance to U-Haul. They would have to be full out here, which Wardell gambles that they are not. Now at this point you see Bergie drops because he's not sure what's happening. Retro becomes unblinded. And I want you to notice here is at the same time, or a little bit after rather, Phoenix flashes. Drone flashes out. This is a good thing to recognize because it shows that while Retro did get flashed, it was not TSM's intent to use that as a flash to push. Rather, that was mainly to gather intel and to force people to look the other way, to either be blinded by it or have to move their crosshair to not be blinded. Drone still follows up with a flash, just in case, and to guarantee the kill onto Retro because at this point, via the minimap, Wardell seeing Retro, he knows that there's a player there. Okay, now we're in the post-plant scenario right here. Let's take a look at the way that Cutler is able to effectively stall the last player alive, as well as use the heal in an effective way of healing while safe and allowing Wardell to still hold an angle. So, at this point, Winsome tries to push into U-Haul. You can see the Jet and the Breach soon after are going to get picked off, and it's just going to be Winsome right here. Now immediately Cutler flashes, Winsome can't come out and convert, and then Cutler is going to be able to flash again. Not only did this stall the Raze, but also they still know the Raze is in U-Haul. Notice that Sabrosa is holding the back, which means that the only way they can come out is the front. Because Wardell is so low, Cutler is able to safely heal from this position, while Wardell holds that angle. And Cutler is able to safely do so because Wardell is holding that angle. So while, like in this case, a Sage would be able to accomplish the same thing, this is just one of the scenarios where Skye can heal other people safely.
From the distance,
now, Winsome gets spotted. Because Winsome gets ganked, he loses. Okay, now let's take a look at an example of Skye being used to actually flash. A flash that is meant to be converted on, rather than just getting intel or possibly flash someone. Here, you're going to see a similar play to what other teams like to run. You're going to have Jet and Raze be long, and Skye in hookah is going to flash the Omen and the Raze. So I'll let you watch it right here. She is going to shoot it over through this little hole. It's going to come down and flash both of them as Jet and Raze get here as quick as possible and convert on the kill.
The map.
So she brings it down. Meanwhile, they dash and boom bot up, dash and satchel up to get there fast, and convert. Well, this is unique, and it was cool to find an angle that Skye can flash these two players. It is not that much better than if a breach did this. You would see a very similar result if a breach was B-long with them, swung here, and flashed right there. Now, I think the only advantage that this brings is that the Raze and the Omen are not going to be looking in their peripherals for a Skye flash. A breach flash they would see directly in their vision, and so they would have time to potentially react and turn to stand a chance. Whereas in this case, because Skye came from the Skye flash came from the peripheral, they weren't able to react. That is the only advantage to using Skye in this situation, and unfortunately it's a very small advantage. It's not something that we look at and say, wow, this is the potential of Skye, because there are still other agents that do this almost as effectively. Okay, this is a super quick example of an effective way to use Skye's flashes for intel. Right here you can notice on A site, Skye and Omen have taken no map control. In fact, no one on Renegades has, which maybe is not the best thing. However, they are able still to get this shower info quickly via a flash. You can see that Skye is just going to be able to send her flash right through here. And whether or not drone turns around or looks straight at it, it is going to tell Skye that someone was blinded. This gives them good info because people are pushed up in showers, and is going to also bring Jet over to rotate with Raze. This also lets Skye know that it's a good idea to hold an off angle that she is right now. And because she's holding such an off angle, Ordell isn't ready for it and gets picked easily. Okay, and now we get a look at one of the most glaring examples of the cons to Skye flashes. In this round, you're going to notice that Sabrosa died with the bomb in the middle, so the defense is holding it. Breach and Skye are in octagon. Ordell and Drone are trying to push up long to retrieve it while he's trying to work hookah. Now, initially, we're going to watch Skye is going to dog because she has a suspicion someone might be pushing long, and it's confirmed. Now, her and Breach are going to want to capitalize on this and try and get some kills. They're going to use Skye flashes, and it's not going to go well. Notice Breach's positioning right here to start. A little miscommunication. Skye's going to throw her flash. Breach inches closer because he wants to try and convert on this. The nade is going to hold him off for a second. Notice the Skye flash ends up about right here when it explodes. Breach mainly is not looking at that. However, it blows up in the tiniest peripheral of his vision, and because of that, he's blinded, and he can't push to convert on that. You'll notice that he is just pushed against the wall. They say, okay, let's go again. And we're going to watch the same thing. This Skye flash, this time, is trying to go way high, because these two people will see it, whereas Breach, who's looking straight, should not, because he's not at this incline. It still goes wrong, because Skye flashes actually extend a little bit beyond your sight at the top. So even though sometimes it looks like you can't see the flash, because the explosion is bigger than the bird, it reaches lower than the bird does. Therefore, even though Randy Savage could not see the bird, when the flash popped, he still saw that pop and thus was flashed for the full amount. He wasn't ready for that, so he swung right here. Ordell and drone saw that in time and they turned on him. So they were able to turn on the flash and turn back in time. Randy Savage is full blind, and he's going to get picked off easily. Okay, now let's talk about a good way that TSM used Skye's flash to create a cheap way for drone to safely get back to Octagon. Right here you can see Skye is sitting right at the entrance to Octagon, making sure that no one actually drops out of hookah because they have no presence there. Meanwhile, drone is far pushed up B long, holding a mixture of this angle right here and peeking right here. He's done this a couple times, and we're about to watch him peek and actually find someone. You're going to notice that right when he finds someone, he's going to call for a flash, and Skye is going to bring a flash here while drone runs away that'll safely get him out. This is cheaper than using a breach flash for the same effect because obviously Skye's flash is 100 rather than 200. Furthermore, on defense, Skye's flashes are not as useful for TSM because of the way that TSM focuses the flashes for map intel, that they consider it worth to use the 100 credits to obviously get drone back. So let's watch that.
A lot of space here at Long B now.
He gets the kill
Has that burst fire on
right
the
here.
bubble and
Skye
still
flashes, he runs away, and you can see the breach wanted to convert, but he wasn't able to peek to get that, to attempt to get the trade because Skye flashed. This is, of course, something that we've seen before. The advantage with Skye is that it's cheaper than breaches. Okay, and let's look at another instance that Renegades is going to try and use one of the Skye flashes to actually flash someone. However, it's going to go wrong because they are so easy to turn away from. In this case, Sabrosa is trying to do a 1v2 retake. You see Bergie in the cubby right here, and CP2, the Skye, in backside. Sabrosa is going to jump down.
Is more than aware, and so are they, of where he's going to be pushing.
And look how much time Sabrosa has to see this flash and turn away. He's going to turn back. His blind's already done. He gets a very nice flick over onto Bergie, and then another nice kill onto CP2. In this case, Renegades tried again to flash as a flash. The problem is CP2 gave Sabrosa too much time to react to it. And this strikes an interesting balance that a Skye player needs to hit. A Skye player needs time to get the bird to a spot that will flash Sabrosa surely. However, CP2 cannot give Sabrosa enough time to turn from it. And when they don't know his exact location, a breach flash or a phoenix flash or something like that is far more effective and advantageous. Because along with that, CP2 had to be in a poor position that he couldn't effectively trade Bergie in the case that Bergie fell. This 1v2, because they chose to use a flash like that rather than peeking together, became two 1v1s that Sabrosa won. Okay, and let's talk about an interesting decision by Cutler. However, one that I think ultimately was not very smart. In this case, Cutler and Bergie are in a 1v1. Cutler is trying to kill Bergie to defuse the spike. He does not know where Bergie is, although he has good suspicion that he is in U-Haul. So, at this point, and by the way, Bergie does know that Cutler has dropped right here. Bergie's heard it. Cutler is going to go to the very edge of truck right here and dog and go through U-Haul to try and find him. I think Bergie should have killed Cutler right here, but Bergie did not recognize that he was dogging in time, and so played this too slow. You can see right here, in the side, Bergie is about to try and paranoia, and then he says, wait a minute, he's dogging. So he's going to take out his gun and try and go over here to kill him. This is a area where the owl drone being slower would have actually hurt Cutler, but because it was the dog and he can do things efficiently, he clears U-Haul so fast and doesn't see anyone here, realizes Berkey could be right on him.
He's gonna try and challenge around the corner
And he sees him there with a quick dash, something the Owl Drone cannot do. And now he's ready. This is interesting. I do like this play right here. Cutler is going to throw the bird as bait. He's not even going to explode. He's just going to let it run out. And you can see it works. It forces Omen to do one of three things. One, hope it's a fake, which is an awful idea. Two, shoot it, which is going to change his crosshair up and give Cutler an advantageous peek. Or three, it's going to cause Berkey to take cover, which he does here. You'll see Berkey takes cover. At this point, though, he gets paranoid and cannot get the kill. I do, however, like the use of the bird. I think the dog was an iffy decision. I think if Berkey was not physically trying to paranoid at that time, I think CP2 would have died. Also, because Berkey could hear the dog, I do think he should have pushed to go kill to go kill Cutler. But obviously he didn't, allowing Cutler to stay alive and have another chance at the one-on-one. Okay, here I want to show an example of where getting map intel with the Skybird went poorly. In this position, you're going to see Cutler up here. He's going to shoot the bird through the teleporter to try and check if there's anyone showers, much like we saw in the first round from CP2. However, look where this breach is positioned. He is in a very passive position, so when the bird comes through, it doesn't get breach, and you're going to see Sabrosa is going to peek it, and Sabrosa is going to lose the fight because he was not ready for it. The bird goes through, nothing is heard, so Sabrosa starts checking, and he gets killed there. In this case, because it's hard to determine whether or not that flash was good, sometimes it's hard to tell whether or not you should push off of that. In this case, Sabrosa took the gamble. Whether or not Randy Savage was just holding passive or he was expecting that bird flash, I would assume the former. But because of that, because of his passive play, and the assumption that the bird flash clears everything, Sabrosa died for it. Okay, so looking back on this map and the two different ways that Skye was played, we saw TSM mainly use Skye for info gathering. She was rarely used to actually push the site. While I didn't show too many clips of it because I wanted to focus on the Skye utility usage, TSM stuck to Drone and Mordell being the entries and having their utility mainly be the entry utility. On the other hand, Renegades tried to use Skye's flashes as more traditional flashes. I think that the info gathering is a much stronger way of using Skye, especially when these teams haven't had enough time to create set executes and really have the established level of communication with Skye's flashes that is necessary to properly convert on them. We saw multiple instances where Renegades tried to convert on using Skye's flashes to blind people, and almost all of them went poorly because her flashes require far greater communication than a Phoenix flash or a breach flash. The way that Renegades played with Skye, using her almost as a breach, rarely as an intel gatherer, I think they should have just stuck with the breach, and having a sentinel would have helped them in this game. I do like the way that TSM played with Skye. However, I feel like she had no greater impact than Sova. I think Sova would have had better impact in their ability to actually get some of the map info, especially when they're pushing a site, which would help Drone and Mordell. In this game, Renegades just got out-aimed. If any of you actually watched the game, that was quite apparent. I think against a formidable team, TSM would have struggled with their entries of Drone and Mordell because they were more traditional entries, and while that's not a bad thing necessarily, they didn't have any intel, any Sova, darts, or drone, or a camera from Cypher, or any form of map intel to actually go. They were pushing blind and using their game knowledge to help them out and just using their awareness of the map of the current state. In general, I think Skye has a lot of pros to her. I think her flashes being cheap makes it more worthwhile using them to protect people and stall, whereas that's not as worth it with Breach, and you almost feel the need to use a Breach flash to convert. I think, additionally, Skye's flashes can be used in a lot of different ways. I think as this game develops and as Skye develops, her flashes are going to find much better uses, and players are really going to be able to convert on them, making her much stronger. I'm going to compare this to Sova shock darts, that in the beginning, we didn't really see many shock darts. It was not viewed as something very strong. People played Sova for the drone and the recon arrow. But now, people have found a way to make Sova's shock darts really strong. I think Skye is going to be the same way. I think her birds are going to get stronger as people find out the positions and paths that their team needs to take to properly convert on them. At this point in Skye's development on both teams, I don't think it's worth trading her out for a different agent. However, I do think that with more practice, Skye will be truly viable in these types of scenarios.